Okay. Okay. Um, let's see. Is there anything at all I can do? I need to rearrange the whole interior of this room because it's a rubbish place to sit when you're doing live streams with light from the window behind me. It works well during winter. I normally do the live streams in the morning, and during winter it's obviously dark outside in the morning here in Norway. But now it's almost 9 o'clock in the morning. And Mr. Sorpos is here, says good morning. Good morning to you as well. This is a publicly available live stream here on my second channel. It's a Heathen Hangout, Heathen/Pagan Hangout. So we will be discussing topics that are important to heathen and pagan people. It's it's like I always say, everyone is welcome, and whatever faith or religion or whatever, you are very welcome here. But you need to be kind of respectful, and we have had some haters and trolls, uh, which is not nice. So everyone is welcome, but please, you know, use some common sense and decency. Lots of people here. All the usual suspects are here. um, it's wonderful. People are joining from so many countries. Here's uh, Guy Peeps and Peace says, "Hello, friend." That's from Israel, and Noel from Britain, and Texas here again. I made a joke about the Church of the Old Shoe, which, yeah, well, it's yeah, well, so Australia, and Arizona, Scotland, West Canada. So that's wonderful to see. And Sophia says, "Hello, Bjorn and everyone, especially fellow heathens." Lincolnshire, Nottinghamshire. Yes, as you write, Joe, there is certainly a lot of Norse and Dane ancestry here. Rogers from Virginia, and turquoise, turquoise in Norwegian, from Pittsburgh. Yes, so spring is here, finally. First thing I have to tell you is that I'm a bit of an idiot when it comes to gardening. I get so impatient, so I bought some clematis. That's a plant. 4 of them yesterday, and I planted them in my garden because the weather was fine, and then we got freezing temperatures. I woke up to freezing temperatures, so I hope that they have survived. I think that I hope that if they didn't, well, they sort of did, that the roots survived, so that they will shoot new growth. But I should have waited, but I was impatient, so bit of an idiot there. So I'm getting more and more interested in gardening, actually. It it gives me peace and tranquility. Clematis, GB. I don't know how to pronounce it in English, but I think it's the same word in English. Yes, EFO. Says they'll be fine. Clematis is hardy. Yes, I have one already, and it's been where it is for many years. So also, the Viking cabin now has a turf roof. Yes. Isn't that wonderful? So the roof is waterproof, and it has a turf covering. Now it will take. It's a sort of. Let me explain now. I've complained about the roof of the Viking cabin for many times now because I didn't manage to get it waterproof. So there's a guy who is here who a carpenter basically, and he sorted it all out. And a traditional turf roof would not work because of the climate. The summers are very dry, and I would have to be over there and hosing down the roof every second day, which I don't want to do. So it's actually the first years. The growth on the roof will be from a succulent plant, which grows naturally. You'll find it in nature here, and that will. Right now, you can see the squares. That you can actually see the edges of the plastic trays. Yes, they do come in plastic trays. But after a few months, they will grow and cover the edges. I've seen it in other houses. It's beautiful. And then after, I don't know, maybe next year, um, other kinds of plants um, will start growing there as well. So yes, it has a membrane underneath, so it's waterproof now. So that made me very happy, and I'm also going to make a braided or wattle fence, or covering rather, because when people walk by, they can look in on the meadow there, and they do that. And it's like some people, they have no shame. They will stop and stare, and they will stare at you. It's like, yeah, it's very rude, you know. Um, yes, actually, succulents. Sebum, is that what they call? It's called sebum here. Um, yeah, so they will stare, and that's why I need a fence. And also, so that's the project for this year. And this guy who is here, I finally found an honest and decent man, a carpenter, uh, who is doing a fantastic job on the cabin, and he knows a farmer who will. What they do is they cut down trees. Well, they have to, because around the edges of the fields, uh, So, um, so I'm going to get those, and I will use those branches to braid a fence. It will not all be willow branches, but I'll do my best. And there will be a courtyard. Uh, yeah, I'll make a video and I'll show you all on the main channel. That will be on the main channel. And so you will have a 2-meter fence or covering so that they can't look in there. Hi, Martina, from Luxembourg, and good morning to you. So that, yeah, the wattle fence will cover the the courtyard. um, well, I can't find the right word in English actually. Um, and outside of the cabin, I will have three 3-meter tall god poles. So the good thing about that is that those people walking past will see the god poles, which will scare them a little bit, which is great. And so that's the plan for this year, and yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, can you imagine these people, walking past, and if it was me, I would be ecstatic. It would, it would make me so happy to see something like that. But most people, I live in a place where there are lots of people with a dogmatic understanding of Christianity. Let's put it that way. Uh, and this is my contribution to balancing things a little bit. I don't know how they will react, but the thing is, I want the god poles. I'm not putting the god poles there for just to scare people, which would have been a good reason to do it actually. But I want those there, and it means something to me personally. So let's get into that. One of the god poles will be, well, before I get into that, as I always say, you can, if you want to support my work, you can give me a super chat. That makes your comment very visible because I can't read all the comments. But if you want to do that, then you are very welcome. So, let's see here. Yes, one of the god poles will be a Freya, or I'll try to use the English pronunciation of Freya. Freya? No, I can't say that. Freya. I'll have to say Freya. It will be a Freya god pole. Okay, Hugo, please be respectful, and I'll try not to focus on those comments because sometimes, people get upset with me calling out that. So I'll try to ignore it, okay? So, yeah, so it will be a Freya god pole. And now, here's the thing. I've had I've for many years, I've had Freya or Freya. Yes, I'll have to say Freya because I can't. Yeah, I say Freya all the time. So okay. Nate, yes, exactly. I'll just read your comment there. Nate says, I understand all too well living in a community of dogmatic Christian and non-Christian people. Yes, definitely casts a particular feeling of your community. Keep pushing the alternative. Let me add that, and I read in a novel, a Finnish novel, religion without a god is worse than religion with a god, meaning that well, there was a guy there who was very, very Christian, but he had lost his faith in a way, which is even worse, you know. But anyway, um, yes, Freya, I've had a an issue with the Vanir for many years now. If you don't know, there are the Norse pantheon consists of several different peoples, or races of peoples, if you will, and um, which is funny because those people who use, we have them once a year. They march in the street in the city here, like proper racists, like people who say they are even, uh, and they love Norse mythology, but it's like it's almost the worst mythology to choose if you have that kind of political stance, political leaning, because the Norse pantheon consists of several different peoples, and like Thor is his mother was Jotun, and and one of those peoples are the Vanir, okay, and Freya is a Vanir. Now, I have most most of an issue with her brother. When I say issue, we're getting into a discussion about. You could say it's a bit silly. You know, I don't have an issue with them, but it's let's say I've struggled with understanding, fully understanding, and I don't claim to fully understand any of the Norse deities. And in fact, I hope that I will never feel that I fully understand them, because there needs to be this constant quest to understand and to research and to you know, you should never stop studying. You should never yeah, okay. So but anyway, Freya is she is women. She's female power. And I think that for me, I had to grow up. It took a long time, but I'm I'll be 50 this year, and I have a daughter who will be soon 18, 18 years old soon. Um, and it's to me, it's like I struggle with understanding the whole thing here, but I think I had to become a middle-aged man before I started getting a better understanding of feminine power, or women, if you will. And Freya is that power, and now I'm extremely fascinated, even more than I used to be, by Freya. She's also a warrior, and she gets to choose. She gets half of the Einherjer. What do you say in English? The Einherjers. um, she gets to choose first, and she gets half of them, and Odin takes the rest. Um, and so she has this. On one side, she has this feminine power, this sexual power, and this um, primeval female power. That's her. That's Freya. And on the other hand, she is also a warrior. So that's why I want one of the goalposts will be Freya, and to honor Freya and to honor women, to honor female power, because it is extremely fascinating, and of course for me as a man it's attractive, and there are lots of people now, they say, oh, I like strong women. Well, you should. Well, well, I don't. Maybe some guys they don't, but a lot of the people who say that they don't. I feel they don't understand what that is. Uh, to me, it's attractive. It is, um, and you know, won't get too personal here, but um, Freya again is a symbol of, we could maybe say that Freya is a symbol of what women should strive to be, in a way. Not saying that women should do all the things that Freya did, because she was certainly was uh, she is uh, a figure that has flaws, which again makes her even more interesting. Um, so it's yeah, I'm just now starting to understand Freya, or should I say, I'm starting now to finding Freya. Maybe I've found her. Also, I think that Freya, since she is so closely connected to sexuality, which really is the birth of, or the beginning of life, if you think about it. People tend to, or they giggle, haha, and but I mean, sexuality is life, or rather, the beginning of life. And now it's springtime, and we see life beginning, which is a beautiful thing. Um, don't get me wrong here. I'm not talking about the kind of fake sexuality that we see in popular culture now. These, like in the this popular music, rap music, and so on, and they're dancing around with their underwear up their, yeah, I won't even say it. That's, you know, it's it's a turn off, at least for me, and I don't think it's sexuality either. It's something else. It's not connected to the beginning of life. Backwoods barbarian, yes, you said it. um, and so that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about something that is real and honest and connected to things like having children, life, the seasons, and maybe Freya is the missing piece there. Now, the Norse gods and goddesses acts as symbols that help us understand life, death, nature, and so on. Buzz Salmon says, "You just like blondes." um, the thing is that, well, they're not just symbols, of course, but they act as symbols. The shape of them and their role, and the stories about them act as symbols so that we can better understand life, death, nature, and our place in nature. So, yeah, I will have a god pole, a Freya god pole there outside my Viking cabin. Um, and Odin, of course, and Thor as well. Thor, I haven't talked so much about Thor. I will get back to that. Let me just say that one important aspect of Thor is that he is masculine power, and um, also Thor is the god for lifting heavy stuff, obviously, and I do that a lot. So, yeah. Um, so let's see here. I'll try to take a look um, at the comments. Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, that's an interesting question about Loki. Nepens is asking, how does Loki fit into things for you? That's a big topic. And thanks for reminding me. I won't get into that in this live stream. James Evans says, kindly refrain from pushing your programming here. Stand for Christ. Who is pushing programming here, James Evans? I mean, it's not like you have to come here. You can go to some other channel, you know. This is a Heathen Pagan Hangout, and everyone is welcome. But you need to be respectful. Let's see here. Yeah, I was talking to this Bible thumper here. Yeah, okay. I will try to just ignore those. But again, it doesn't make you look good because when you do this, because this chat is recorded, so it's like for eternity. Your comment will be there, and maybe that's what you want, but it doesn't make you look good, you know. Let's see here. Mr. Wood says, when I cannot lift heavy stuff, Odin will send appropriately male people to help me out with their kindness. Let's see here. Yeah, it's difficult for me to keep an eye on the chat. Some people are talking to each other here. So if I was wrong there, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm reading another comment here. Ashod Wood says the Bible was a good story, but there are many stories prior to the current print. Single-minded narratives are not welcome here. Yeah, absolutely. It's like the Bible belongs in any on in any home because it's an important book, you know. It's a book that I've read. I haven't actually read the Bible from start to finish, but I've read most parts of it. Did Scandinavia need Christianity? If you ask me, no. No, not at all. Oh, here's a new one. Islam is the truth. Come to Islam. Okay. Now Loki, Mr. Woods is saying about Loki. Loki is not a hateful person. He's a trickster who challenges you to seek a different way and be a bit playful. That's respectfully, I disagree, but you know, that would be a very interesting discussion to have. You know, um, let's see here. Yeah. Okay. Back to gardening. Can you grow honeysuckle there? That's a hardy vine. Honeysuckle is what's that in? I think I can. Um, please recommend a Norse pagan tale to introduce someone who knows very little of such things. Well, I would start with the creation of the world, actually. How Odin, with his brothers Vile and Ve, created the world. That story is very fascinating, and it's a good place to start, I think. And Mr. Wood says, love and believe in Christ, but also know my past pagan ancestry, and acknowledge and understand that I think of the old gods of the past, and so on. Thank you for that comment. And the pen says Loki is an interesting character. I would like to know something outside of the Marvel characters. Absolutely. Now, here's the thing. Now, we tend to look at Norse mythology as something that existed or was created at one time, and it stayed like that through the so-called heathen times. That's not correct. This is something that changed continuously through hundreds, maybe thousands of years. So our perception of a Norse deity now is it's like trying to take a photograph and capture photograph of someone, and in that photograph capturing their, like 40 years of their life. Or you could say that, well, how should I explain this? For instance, Loki. Loki, as he was perceived in, let's say, southern Sweden in the year 1005, was probably very different from Loki as he was perceived in Trøndelag at the year 800. Trøndelag in the middle of Norway in the year 800. Because these perceptions changed. And you know what? The same you could say with Christianity, or the perception of Jesus, because people's perception of Jesus now in, let's say, Northern Europe is very different from the perception of Jesus 200 years ago. You know, so let's see here. Let's see here. Leon Hogan says, I have the Old Norse runes on my workshop shed. I wear an arm ring and I always have my Thor's hammer pendant on around my neck, and I have to Odin and his ravens carved into my axe that I use for camping. That's wonderful. That's beautiful. Matthias Treeman is here. Good to see you, as always. And good morning to a fellow Heathen. So I guess you could say it's an interesting discussion, and one that is best had by a campfire. And as you know, I don't like these dogmatic people who have decided this is what it's like and this is the truth and I know the truth and so on and so on. That's I don't like that. So Maya Komovi says most people here seem to pet their iPhone god without seeing the birds soaring above their bent down heads. Yes, that's a problem, because it doesn't apply to everyone, but people certainly should limit their smartphone use. I don't use a smartphone, and I use my laptop computer. So what I've found is that my screen time, after I threw away my smartphone, my total screen time went down a lot. A lot. Because it's not so it's so convenient with that smartphone. But Horror Business is asking, do people in Norge get mad at Americans wearing Thor's hammer? No, not at all. Not at all. This is something that it's not it's for everyone, It's for everyone. Let's see here. RWG Outdoors says, I've got Cherokee Indian blood along with others bloodlines, of course, but the old Cherokee Indian beliefs is nature at its core. Belief in a great spirit. Just being outside in the woods gives peace. That's beautiful. I knew about that from before. It's a concept I subscribe to, and I guess I try to bring that into my own belief system as well, and I have for it's such a central part of everything. Let's see. Backwoods Barbarian says, what we have in common is as a species, we are spiritual in nature. Despite all the different religions, we are spiritual in nature. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see here. Okay. Yes, Raven Skogartru says that it is said animism is indeed the oldest religion. Yeah. So Irish 2000 says, Celts over Norse any day of the week. Yeah. um, let's see here. Yeah, lots of interesting questions here. Come here, let's see. Okay, I'm trying to get into the questions. Let's see. I have to scroll up so that I get the context. Nate is asking, when did you make the break with your smartphone? Was it difficult? It's a little bit. It's a bit more than 1.5 years ago, and it was easier than I thought it would be, because it took just a day or a couple of days before I felt so much more connected to what really matters. Some practical problems. To start with, I couldn't figure out how to post to Instagram, but you can do that, and now you can. It's very easy to do that. And I couldn't fly my drone, but now I've figured out that they now offer. They say that you can buy one of the DJI drones with a smart controller, and I asked them, and they, not the DJI, but the camera store, and they say that you can you don't need a smartphone for that. So the downside to it is that the smart controller is quite large, and um, it it's heavier than a smartphone. So for hiking and so on, it's a bit not so practical, but when you go hiking, so a smartphone would be much lighter. But that's apart from that, only I've seen only advantages, and I've made a video about that recently on my main channel. Let's see. Yeah, well, I actually think that we are animals. Well, what else would we be? We're not plants. We're not minerals. So let's see here. It always upsets some kinds of Christian people when I say that we are animals. That's okay, and it is, but we are, we are animals. Some more than others, but uh, well, yeah, GB. If we are divine, then any animal is divine, and maybe we all are. Roy Ike says we are hairless evil monkeys. Some people are like rocks. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Lee says we are stardust. Yes, everything comes from stardust. Kermit says they are weak if they can't handle the facts. We are animals. Yeah, and you could say there are differences between the human species and other animal species, but there are differences between any animal species and all the other animal species. So you could say we are more advanced. It's a question of definitions, I guess. And Matthias Treeman says, Animals do have morals, I believe. They certainly have, if you look at animals that live in a small group, like wolves, they it's quite easy to see that they interact according to some social rules, and you could call that morals. Actually, I think that again is, it's a very interesting and philosophical question. Um, are morals only part of the social web, if you will, that we have developed up through the years? Um, yes, and someone said the other day that animals don't have a language, but they do, and it's just that they don't. Well, I was going to say they don't use words, but you could say some animals use sound in a way that is so specific that you could actually call it words. But we wouldn't know, would we? I was walking past. Yes, and also most of the communication that we do is nonverbal. So I was walking past a field last weekend, and I heard the roe deers calling out to each other like this. It sounds like someone is screaming, but the screams are very articulated in a way, and they are not all alike. So dolphins is a great example. Um, so are there words in there? Are they saying something, communicating something more specific? And how would we know? um, Animals aren't burdened with an ego. Well, you could say that, but I would say, like typically, from my experience, a grown-up male dog will have an ego sometimes, a huge ego. Ages Flow says, "Don't get me started on the mycelium network. We are surrounded by communicating life." Well, I would actually like to get you started on that, because that is insanely interesting. Um, and people talk about trees. They say that trees, they are just dead things standing there. Well, they're not dead, but they don't have a conscience. I don't know what kind of conscience trees have or plants have. I kind of hope that they don't have a conscience, because I have cut down trees in my life because I've had to. It's not something I like to do, but it has happened. It has been necessary sometimes. And but what we do now is that the trees are communicating um, through the mycelium network. And if you go up in any spruce forest and you dig a little bit among the spruce roots, spruce trees, they have this enormous network of tiny roots, and you can use the roots for to make rope, because it's so flexible. They are so flexible and thin and strong. Those roots are surrounded in tiny white threads. That's the mycelium network. And they use that to communicate with other trees. Also, trees take carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and it's stored in that mycelium network as well as in the plant itself. So cutting down trees, I've talked about this a lot. Cutting down trees is probably the worst thing you can do for the environment. So, yeah, the spruce. There's more than just Greg is saying that than just the mycelium network. They actually join roots at one point. Yeah, and you know what? I've seen, well, on my land here, I have two trees that they come up from the ground like this and they join, and they've grown together, actually. Dark Glasses Woodies, thanks for the donation. Is asking that, is saying that often Christians will claim that theirs is the faith that best accounts for evil. What is the origin of evil in Norse mythology? Actually, I can answer that question. Evil is not how we see things in the Norse belief system. It's not black and white. It's not good and bad. It's not like that. It's much more balanced. So you will have other concepts describing what in Christianity will all be described as evil. And yeah, that's the best answer I can give you. But there are certainly evil things being done, but the concept of evil is not central in the Norse belief system. It's more divided up into other things that all are viewed as bad, like betrayal, um, like yeah, I all bad things, basically. Okay. Pepe is trolling her. I think everyone has to accept Jesus. No. Why was everyone okay with the idea of raiding? Asks Horror Business. No, but everyone was not okay with that idea. In fact, not at all. It was a part of the structure of the world back then. And if you read history, you will know that it's not like the Norse did all the raiding. That's just not true. Not at all. It was something people did because they could, and they could most of the time get away with it. People were not okay with that. Matthias says to JD, or you say that I think the term "all gods" is just a word to call the people worship before Christianity. Um, yeah, I define Christianity as a new religion for my part of the world, because it is. It's only it's less than 1,000 years old here. Well, depends on how you define it, but I would say around 800 years it's been dominating here. Um, uh, fellow Ethelred say that back in the day only Nordic Scandinavians could worship Odin. That's actually not true. It's not true at all. Um, Kuyo Moyo says not all Norse were Viking and not all Viking were Norse. Exactly. Yeah. So how do you view Judaism? Well, it's just another of the Abrahamic faiths, and it is well, obviously older than Christianity, and I don't see that much of a difference. Well, there are differences, of course, but for me, it is one of the Abrahamic faiths. Um, and Matthias is asking if I'm right, Björn. There was still small pockets worshipping the gods in the 1700s. Well, we don't know for sure, but there are indications that there was. If you go traveling in the interior of Norway and Sweden, you will find you will find places, and you will hear stories about places where those gods were worshipped. I know one place in Valdres where there is a slab of rock, and the story goes that that was a sacrificial site up until quite recent times. But with these stories, you don't know if it's true. Um, so let's see here. Uh, Interesting question. Jackass Bauer one is asking, do pagans believe in a god who would be analogous to the Christian God? Okay. No, well, it depends. The answer would be it depends, because this is a worldwide thing, and I don't know everything about all pagan belief systems, but not in the Norse belief system. And fellow Ethelred is saying that racial universalism is a Christian belief. In fact, the modern woke leftist did. Okay. Now, it can be proven by DNA actually and by archaeological findings that the people, free people, like not slaves, free people who lived and had in Viking or Norse settlements and in Scandinavia, that some of them had origin from other parts of the world. Not saying that we had like the Netflix version of Vikings. I'm not saying it was like that, but the idea that it was if you came here and your as a free man, a free woman, and that they would deny you to worship the Odin, Freya, the Vanir, and the Aesir, and so on. That's not, it doesn't fit with what we know. It doesn't fit with what we know. And this can be proven by archaeological findings, by DNA research. You should talk to a guy like Sturla, my friend Sturla, about this. And it was not, well, you're saying that Norse was ethnocentric. I guess all people back then was more ethnocentric than we are today, but that it was exclusive is not correct. I hate to bring it to you, but I will encourage you, and you will answer now that you've done it already, but I will encourage you to read recent archaeological finds and get away from that belief there, because I don't like it so much, actually. Is there a specific site in Norway that is considered to be a holy pagan location? Well, there are several, actually. Here's an interesting thing, and this goes for the same sites in the UK more, but it's related. Yeah, great if you can read it and look into it, but I will decide. Yes, you should decide. I'm not going to decide for you, of course. But okay, so here's the thing. Holy sites. If you go to somewhere where there is an old church, there are good chances that at that site was a holy pagan site. And in Britain, this is more visible than in Scandinavia, because in Britain there are more yew trees, and yew trees were considered holy. So you will find very often ancient yew trees next to the church. What they did was the monks, they found a pagan site for worshiping, and they didn't like that. So they built a church on that site, which is fascinating when you think about it, but because it was such a that attitude, it's like when you have dogs, if you have dogs, you will know this. A dog will come and pee on the same spot where some other dog peed, so the same it's the same thing. Jonas here says that in Germany one can find stumps of oak trees once worshipped by pagans in front of churches. Yes. I'm trying to think about, well, you have the stone circles, lots of them in where I live. Let's see. There are several of these places. So, okay. Let's see here. JD Israel says, Bjorn, do the Vandals, Visigoths, and Celts still exist, and were they Vikings? Well, the correct answer would be sometimes they were, because the word Viking is a word used by the people who came from northern Scandinavia raiding and yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And we know that they would welcome people who could fight. Again, I'm not saying that it looked like a Netflix Viking series. It didn't, but it's it would be wrong to say that 100% of the people on board a longship going raiding were from Norway, Denmark, and Sweden. There were likely someone there from time to time who traveled north and were seen as a good fighter, or maybe they just needed extra crew. So you could find a Celt being a Viking. So Matthias Striemann is doing a Legend of Odin carving at the moment. They are very beautiful. You should all go and check out Matthias Streamann's channel, the Pagan Workshop. That's your other channel. Okay. Any cool story about elves helping the Vikings? That's interesting too, but I think, and we don't know this, but here's what I think. My theory is that during the Viking Age in Scandinavia, what we call elves were seen as more like something dangerous than someone who would help you. And I think that because of the myths that survived, and they are, it's not, the elves are not seen as something positive, but rather something that could harm you and trap you and make your life miserable and so on. Okay, let's see here. So Trisha in Minnesota says my whole family is Lutheran. And the harpist says, can you speak a little bit Norwegian to help us learn Norwegian? Yeah, here's another. Bob is saying that cathedrals are Odinist monuments stolen by the church in the 1300s. Look closely, they're full of hidden ruins in architecture. I'm not saying you're wrong, but there are another theory about that. And the theory is that the local people, like the craftsmen, they had to, because they had to feed their family, they had needed work and so on, so they were hired to build these churches, but they were in their heart not Christian, or not fully Christian, if you will, and that's why they included carvings that runes, and at that time lots of people still used the runes, by the way, in their daily life, but so the theory is that they included that so that they would not be seen as doing something wrong by the old gods, something like that. Mr. Wood says, I'm married to a veterinarian. Animals are very much, in my own opinion, like little children. Yes, scared and looking for comfort. We take care of our animals mercifully and comfortably. Yes, I think so. They are, Sunny Day says that my mom would speak of the tomtes. That's Swedish for Nisse. Yeah, well, we like those, um, the tomte or the Nisse. It's a short fellow who lives on your farm, and he tends to the animals. He helps the animals on the farm, but you will never see him. That's the thing, he's there, but the farmer will never see him, so he hides. But he lives usually in the barn, and every Christmas Eve, you have to give him a bowl of porridge. And if you don't do that, he will be very upset, and he might make things difficult for you on the farm. So, yeah, tomte. That's correct. That's Swedish. We say nisse in Norwegian. Let's see. No, I haven't watched The Northman. I haven't watched Heilung. Oh, GB, we said porridge at the same time. Yeah, and you also have the belief that there are nisser, or tomtas, living out in the woods, and that, I think, comes from the belief in elves, and it's a little bit more recent, but it also comes from this all comes from heathen times. Okay, so Horror Business is asking, what's your favorite black metal band? That's Dimmu Borgir, I would say. Let's see here. Yeah. Rocky Mountain Bear says they run around. That's the Nisse, stealing single stockings from the laundry. They do that as well. Yeah. So what can I say? Yeah, there are lots of these old myths and tales and stories, and it's all connected to pre-Christian times. Santa Claus is inspired by, Santa Claus, the guy with the red suit and the white beard. That's a self-portrait, actually, by, I think he was originally Swedish, the designer of, how was that? Yeah, he was a real person working for Coca-Cola, and if you look at him, he looks very much like the old tomte. So that image is inspired by the Swedish tomte. So you're actually looking at, when you're looking at that guy, the Coca-Cola Santa. He's he- that's a self-portrait actually. Um, hey, you leave Santa out of this, buddy. I know, yeah, Santa is real and all that. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. uh, I don't know if there's a rune app for keyboards. Well, yes, there is, but I've only found one for the Elder Futhark. I write sometimes when I use runes. I use the younger Futhark. um, but yeah, was he wearing blue before? Well, I think uh, you could track that to the Christian thing there. What's uh, Claus Santa? What's the Christian the guy Saint something Klaus? Was that? Yeah, who gave kids presents? Uh, Nicholas. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, so that's I guess the modern Santa is a mix of the Swedish tomte and Saint Nicholas and Coca-Cola, and it's I like Santa. I like the modern Santa. I think it's a funny addition to that time of the year. But it is a mix and match, not mix and match, but it's a mixture of several things. And I know every Christmas we have this discussion. Oh, the real Christmas is it's the birth of baby Jesus, and then we on my team, my team, we say that now we're celebrating winter solstice and back and forth. But I think it's a bit of that discussion is a little bit silly because you can celebrate what you want really. Um, I don't care. Um, but anyway, yeah, and yes, we know that Christianity did that incorporation of other beliefs in their holy days. Now the Norse they celebrated Yule not at winter solstice, but in January. But they did celebrate winter solstice. Am I saying that correctly? Yeah, 22nd, 23rd. The turning of the start of a new year. It's a very ancient. That day is extremely important, and it has been for since the dawn of time, probably. Um, so, oh yeah, you have the Krampus as well. Um, yeah, we need more of that. Yeah, we should bring Krampus back to scare the little kids. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Um, yeah, it's lots of the wild hunt and lots of interesting topics being brought up in the chat. But I have to go now, and we can discuss these topics another time. But it is interesting to see how ancient concepts are changed, and how some of them we still still celebrate, we still tell our kids about them, and so on. And yeah, it's interesting. But I have to go now, and I hope you'll have a wonderful day or night. And yeah, we didn't have many trolls in this chat, so that was a good thing, I guess. The trolls will go away after a while, so yeah, my strategy has worked. It seems like that. Okay, we'll talk. We'll talk soon. Okay, bye.